Yeah, so I have a whole and a term.
Okay.
That's what I had.
Okay.
So I have a whole, that's when I said it kind of confused me, but I have a whole and a term. And, I pay my monthly payment and everything on that, but I also have hospital insurance. And the way that I got hospital insurance was because, and I go through State Farm. I know there's more than, and I'm also, interested in looking into that. Unfortunately, at this time, and we'll talk about that later, when you have like cancer, you have to wait until like a certain amount of time, so afterwards. But I'm going to give me some more life insurance. So when right before I was getting diagnosed with cancer, it was just a conversation that the doctor was talking to me about, that it possibly could be cancer. I called to see if I can get some more life insurance.
Good.
What's up? Welcome to another episode of Where I'm From Podcast with your girl, B.MARIE. And I have a wonderful guest today on our show, Miss Amber Life. She's come to hang out with us and talk about financial literacy and some other hot topics that we'll get to in a minute. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and hit that notification bell so you can be alerted of every week when new episodes come out. So we're going to jump right on in. I was super excited for this episode. First, I want to tell you I'm super grateful for you, and thank you for coming and joining us on the Where I'm From podcast. We always like to start our episodes off with just telling the viewers where you're from, and just just 1-2 liner on where you're from. You can say state and or your mindset, and how that has shaped you, how that is added to the shaping of you today.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. We've been talking about this for a while. So I am Amber. I'm born and raised in Decatur, Georgia here. And being from Atlanta is an experience that I don't know if it's comparable to living anywhere else in the U.S., mainly because it's so much to do here. There's so much success here. You can kind of just
Atlanta, Georgia.
Born and raised in Decatur, which is just outside of Atlanta, is a great experience for me because Atlanta is a city that is full of Black excellence. Is that okay to say?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to leave that shit in here. Okay, we good.
Thank you. It's a city of Black excellence.
Yes,
you can be anything here, and there's so much success to tap into.
No, we're not going to be that in there, but you better own that, girl.
Oh yeah. There's so much opportunity to tap into here also. That you really, it's just the world is your oyster somewhere like this, and it's kind of sad to me to think of other places that you don't see having the same opportunities. So I just wanted to always make sure I do something to give back to my community.
Yes.
And also help to bring up the next generation of my community to do even better than me and the ones before me.
Yes. So I just want to expound on that. I definitely feel like there's a lot of success here. We've been here. I'm Brittany, B.MARIE, and I'm from Jersey, and where I'm from in New Jersey is Atlantic City, and there's not business owners. Like there's businesses there, but they're not owned by people from Atlantic City's community. They're not owned. There's not a lot of Black owned businesses there. There's not a lot of people, Caucasian people, that like they'll have businesses on the boardwalk, but they'll live like somewhere far, like an hour away in a suburb area. They're not from Atlantic City. They're from somewhere else, and they open businesses there. When I was growing up, I only knew like 1 or 2 business owners that I could actually think of. The way that I grew up was way different than the successful area of like where I'm at right now. It's very different from the life that I live right now. So there wasn't, like I said, there wasn't business owners. But as I say on previous episodes, like where I'm from, it made me strong, and it did teach me how to hustle. I did hear on your other episode where you like the street corner right there. Don't go there. We don't want to go there to the street corner ever again. We don't want to be outside trying to make money. So I don't know how much of my story that you've heard, because I know that we met at the salon and everything. But I grew up in an area where we weren't learning about financial literacy. I got my little notebook so I can stay on task. We didn't learn about financial freedom. Wasn't growing up with conversations where they were talking about life insurance. I just recently found out, since my dad is sick, that he's had life insurance like for so many years. He's never had a conversation with his children about that. Unfortunately, when my mother passed away, she didn't have life insurance. People in my family around me and different people from Atlantic City, they think that, like a lot of people, they think that life insurance is not important. Like they have. So since you made a comment, I'm going to say something, right? So I've been told, like by my partner coach, like on numerous occasions that like life insurance for him gave him a bad taste in his mouth. Because I've had life insurance for a while and I've had a will for a while, even before I got diagnosed with cancer, and I'll get into that later. And but he would always not want life insurance, and he will always bring up the Black history with like life insurance, and it gave him like a bad taste in his mouth. I'm not Black, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. But what I will ask you is, like, what would you say to people that would say that like they don't want life insurance? Because it's like, do you know what I mean?
I know exactly.
Okay, so you talk about it because I can't talk about it.
So one of the things that bothers me is, particularly in my community, is that when you mention life insurance, one of the main things people say is, you're trying to put me in the grave. Mm-hmm. My next statement or question is, where do you think you're going anyway?
Yeah.
You literally are going to die the moment you are born. No one wants to think about it, but it's a guarantee to happen. No one prepares for a child to die, but unfortunately, devastatingly, it happens. The first thing you see is a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
There's a fish fry. You're selling things. You're trying to raise money to bury your loved one, but you also drive a Mercedes and you pull up to a mansion every day, but you didn't have life insurance to protect those assets and pass them down to your family.
Yeah,
that's what of concern.
That's on my list that we want to talk about, because as I continue to grow our businesses, and a lot of my message is healing in business, and I'm talking to everyone. But I like to also talk to us as entrepreneurs, and independent contractors. I want to know, and I want to learn, and I want us to learn like how to protect our assets. So my experience with life insurance is, I think I got life insurance about 5 years ago. I have a whole term and a what's the other one? What you say?
So whole and term are separate types.
Yeah, so I have a whole and a term.
Okay,
that's what I had. Okay. So I have a whole. That's when I said it kind of confused me. But I have a whole and a term. And, I pay my monthly payment and everything on that, but I also have hospital insurance. Mm-hmm. And the way that I got hospital insurance was because, and I go through State Farm. I know there's more than, and I'm also, interested in looking into that. Unfortunately, at this time, and we'll talk about that later, when you have like cancer, you have to wait until like a certain amount of time, so afterwards. But I'm going to get me some more life insurance. So when right before I was getting diagnosed with cancer, it was just a conversation that the doctor was talking to me about, that it possibly could be cancer. I called to see if I can get some more life insurance. Good. But I wasn't approved for extra life insurance. But the lady was like, I don't know if we can get in trouble, but fortunately for me, she helped me out with the hospital insurance. And it worked out, because when she let me get hospital insurance, because I already had the life insurance with them for a few years. When I was in the hospital for cancer surgery, they paid me $250 a day. So when I was out during my recovery from the surgery, I was able to have like $750 because I wasn't working at that time. For 3 weeks. I didn't work at the salon. So I definitely do recommend to have life insurance and hospital insurance. because that really helps you out. That's my experience with life insurance. So then I just want to move into the different types of, I'm going to take notes too, y'all. So the different types of, because I'm learning as well. I'm a student forever.
And I'm learning as I go.
Yeah.
I'm learning as I teach it.
She's like, please don't make me the life insurance guru. I don't know everything. I'm going to learn. But she gonna make herself the financial guru because we gonna talk off camera about goals and next steps. So if you could just explain to myself and the viewers, or just remind me and to the viewers, like the different types of life insurance.
So there's whole life that covers you usually to age 121. That's the reason it's called whole. It covers the whole entirety of your life. That's something you can get that it does grow it grows interest, but it's a very slow, steady growth. But again, it's something very beneficial to have because you want something to cover your life in its entirety. Sorry.
Yeah.
There's term life, which it terminates at a certain point. You can get a 10, 20, 30-year term. That is something that's good to have if you cannot afford a whole life policy or the other types, because you can get a very large term insurance policy for a very low amount. But you have to think, okay, if I'm 20 years old and I have a 30-year term policy, when I turn 50, am I still in good health?
Yeah.
Can I afford what the policy is now because I have fewer years to pay into it, so it's going to cost more? There's universal life, which is a policy that you can get, and that is something that you can pay more into. It can increase as you pay more into it. You can kind of change the terms of it a little bit. There's also final expense, which is something you get that is age specific. You have to be between the ages of 50 and 55 to get final expense normally. And you can only get coverage up to $25,000 total in final expense. But the good thing about that is it usually does not require any type of medical evaluation.
So the final expense one, I've actually never heard of that one. I've actually never heard of the universal one either. I don't think.
Most people don't.
So the universal, like the final expense one, is that like basically for your funeral?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because you can, like I said, you only can get coverage up to $25,000 for a final expense. So that's good. That's something good to get for people who are older, who have health issues, who cannot get approved for anything elsewhere. Is the final expense is almost like a guaranteed policy, and they're usually pretty inexpensive.
Oh, so you can get that to pay for your funeral, so then the other money can just go to your family, yes. So they can, do what they want with it.
Pretty much. One major thing with final expense, though, is that it does have a 2-year time frame where if, God forbid, you passed away within the first 2 years of the policy's inception, it only pays out what you've paid into the policy.
Okay.
If you have a $10,000 policy and you've paid $500 into it, your family's only getting that $500.
Okay.
That circles back to the importance of getting life insurance early in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting it as early as possible keeps the life in life insurance. It is not just for families to benefit after you die.
So like even like 20-something-year-olds, because I started talking to my son about that, and he was like, Mom, can we talk about this? I'm trying to focus on my master's.
So here's what. You can get a policy on a child as young as 15 days old. That baby will never be that young or healthy ever again in life.
So the parents, but the children, the parents have to get, but if they're adult children, they have to get policies on themselves.
Incorrect.
Oh, so but I would have to have, so I definitely would get approval, but he would want to have to talk to me about it so he could approve me to take out a policy for him.
Correct. You are not legally allowed to get a policy on a person without their approval and permission.
Don't be on Fatal Attraction. Don't be on it thinking now it's all coming back to me. I think I've seen this on the investigation discovery.
And wives, please stop asking me what you can get on your husband without him knowing. He has to know.
They really be asking. Is it because the man don't want to talk about it properly?
That is a part of it.
We want to hope they're not trying to murder that.
But yeah, that's absolutely
because they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. it's insane. They don't want to talk. Not insane. I don't want to say that, but because I'm from Jersey, sometimes we just talk like it's way better to have. I feel much more comfortable with having life insurance because so nobody has to worry about that. Well, the part that I was saying was insane is like because I've been in situations to where there was no life insurance. We haven't done GoFundMe's. We just had to go in our bank account and pay for it. Yeah. So but if you don't have it, then you got to do a GoFundMe. I've seen people in where I grew up at this GoFundMe's all the time for funerals because people have unfortunate events. They get murdered, you know what I mean, domestic violence situations, car accidents, drinking and driving. So it's a lot of things that happen where people don't have life insurance. I never knew no one to have life insurance. Absolutely fine. All right, so we talked about hospital insurance and then term and whole life insurance. What is the insurance that you get that you can borrow on it?
You can borrow against whole life and universal because those are growing at interest based on the investments in the market for them. Whole life, like I said before, grows much slower and steady, whereas universal can grow, plateau. But the good thing about like an index universal life policy is something that grows compound interest. It's immune to negative market losses, meaning if the market goes down today and my 401k loses $2,500, okay, my IUL isn't moving that day. I'd rather see no movement than negative movement.
Yeah. Yeah,
and that's something that also increases the policy benefit as you're paying into it also. So if you get a policy of that, like an IUL for $200,000, as you're paying into it and it's growing, it can end up being worth over $1 million at some point. It just depends on how you fund it.
Yeah, so that's why as I was listening to the other podcast episode that you were on and just conversations that we've had, that's why I feel like having life insurance is like a part of like setting up a person like retirement, is like adding to their retirement, like their financial growth, as you know. So I do want to, as they continue to get older, I do want to talk a little bit about like you mentioned earlier about like protecting your assets in the my vocabulary. Let me think. In the aspect of like I'm having life insurance, like how does that coincide with each other?
So with life insurance, you can protect your assets by making sure that there's enough in your policy to leave your family so they don't have to sell things off to pay for your funeral. They don't have to sell the house to pay off your debts. Also, life insurance, annuities, and what's the other? There's trusts are the only three things immune to probate taxes. So the government wants to have their part of what's left to you before you get a part of it. Your family now has to bury you with what they have in the bank because once you're pronounced dead, there's a phone call that is made and everything that's yours freezes unless you have things in trust, life insurance, or annuities.
So I'm doing another episode on trust, LLC, sole proprietorship, and business structures. Because your girl, B.MARIE, recently has put her assets in a trust. We are no longer an LLC. LLCs are okay. Like I had LLCs for years. We're going to talk about that on a different video. But as far as when it comes to taxes and the payout that you have to pay the IRS and things being protected, just like you mentioned with life insurance, I've been advised by a CPA that the trust was the best way to go. So that we're going to talk about that on another episode. So, but that was great. I'm so glad. And then so I started smiling. I was like, yeah. So like when I do work with like business consulting clients, like sometimes they don't have the finances at the time to create a trust because it costs a little bit more. Like it might be $500, it might be $1,000, depending on who your CPA is and if you're doing it by yourself. I don't know, like for me, things like that I probably could do by myself, like even taxes, because I prepare so much for them to the point where I make it easy for this CPA, but I'm always feeling like I'm going to miss something. Yeah. So I've only applied for sole proprietorships as far as business structures and by myself, like me and Coach, and we did LLCs together, like the application. Those are pretty easy. But S corps and trust, I have that now, but I didn't do that. I paid a CPA. So if a business consultant finds somebody that I'm working with in my family, they don't have the money to start with a trust, I start them with an LLC, like I start with the LLC process, but I let them know that as your business continues to grow and you start making more money, you want to put this stuff in a trust, because I went from having, like, being a single mom, growing up in an urban environment on food stamps, having like Medicaid, low income, living in, low income areas, to not paying hardly no tax, getting them fat checks. Getting them fat checks. Because I had a child I was raising. Yeah. So, you're getting $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 income checks. Yeah. It's like almost what you're making a year. Like, you might make $15,000 a year in your job or whatever back in the day. But as I got into business and I started to grow, like, when that first time I was like, how much do I owe the IRS? Like, what? Like, I'm not gonna say the number because there's so many people, especially in Atlanta, because so many such people are probably like, girl, that ain't nothing. Yeah. But to me, that's something. I was like, let me get that forgiveness application. Let me see. I'm gonna actually do the forgiveness application, and I'll see if it works. I'll let y'all know how the process goes. But yeah, because I just owe them, to even owe the IRS $20,000 is like insane to me. But what I did say was that it makes me feel happy that it's the last year that I'm going to owe that much taxes, and that my business has grown to where, I guess that's looking at the positive. Like, my business has grown to where I do owe that.
To where you have to pay this much, yes. That's a blessing.
And also, I want to make one more comment. I don't know if you know anything about this, but listen, small business owners, you can hide as much money as you want to hide. They may never find it. But when you go to buy something, a building, if you want to buy a commercial building, if you want to buy cars in your business name, you have to show that your business has had income. You can't keep sliding, tucking the cash under the bed. Like, you can't keep doing it. You have to show it as income. So you can do your taxes, and I'm not telling you to lie, but you can have low income on your taxes for as long as you don't want to buy nothing. Because as soon as you want to go buy something for your business, you have to show that you're making money, and that's when you really show the IRS. So listen, it just depends on what type of financial spot you want to be in your life. So yes, I did hear a little bit on the other podcast episode about credit. You can just talk to us a little bit about credit and like where you're at in your credit journey, and if you have any advice, and then I'll go into, because we had some things in common. So I'm just gonna let you share a little bit about that. If you had any advice on how credit is good for your financial future.
So credit is something very important. I know cash is king, but if you don't have enough cash to buy it twice, you need credit. If you have $50,000 in the bank and you have no credit, all you can spend is $50,000. If I have $500 in the bank but an 800 credit score, I have access to hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
So, but you have to know also how to use that credit.
Yes.
Credit is something that does kind of keep things afloat, because life happens. And what if I don't have enough cash on hand? What if I do have enough cash on hand, but I don't know what's coming next? Well, I don't want to spend all of my cash. Let me do some cash, some credit. One of the ways that I'm helping in my family is I have added my nieces and nephews to my credit. Mm-hmm. So my 6-year-old nephew has a credit score right now stronger than the majority of the country. And it's each one teach one. Whatever you can do to add an authorized user, find whatever cards and accounts. I mean, it can be department store credit accounts, wherever you can add an authorized user, and you know that you make payments regularly on your credit cards. If you carry a balance, then you should definitely add someone to benefit them in the future as well.
Yes, as you were sitting here talking, I don't know why I was thinking about this toxic. like I grew up, right, and it's like I'm really can appreciate this conversation that we're having now. Is because, like I said, I'm learning, and you only know what you know. So it's like before I hit the world of cosmetology, like when I came out of I was incarcerated, so I went to cosmetology school in a halfway house. Before I came out of the halfway house in cosmetology school, no one ever knew. No one had, like, we would take, when I was 18 years old, I got credit cards, messed my credit up. When I was in a halfway house in 2010, I did first bankruptcy. And I built my credit up again, came down here to Georgia, lived off credit, messed it up again. It happens. Messed it up again, and then did a second bankruptcy. Yeah, because me and Coach came down here with like no money, and we built it a business, and we pretty much, and then it was like two people who really didn't learn financial literacy, trying to, just figure it out. So after the second bankruptcy, I was like, that's never happening again. And we're gonna move in that direction. And I did that with my son too. I put him on my credit and got him some credit cards. Like when he went off to college, like he had like A1 credit, and he was able to start establishing his own credit. And now I'm in the process now of building more credit, like on my personal credit, and I'm gonna do other episodes too on business credit and personal credit, because I see a lot of information out here about how you can utilize your business credit to buy things. So I'm in the process of learning a lot about that now. I'm not, even though I make videos, not a huge fan of all of the plethora of information that's out there, because, like, I'll give you an example. They have a lot of videos about the Navy Federal Note Doc. I've actually tried that, and it just didn't work. Like, they wanted documentation. Like, I've actually watched YouTube videos and walked through this stuff. So please, if anybody wants to like come into my messages and be like, I want to rebuke this, or what's the word, rebuttal, I want to show you how, get me on FaceTime or something, because I have a Navy Federal account. So I've started taking steps like building business credit. I have a Navy, and I'll do different videos on that. But if you know anything about that too, I have Navy Federal, because that's supposed to be like the easiest place to get loans for business owners. Yeah, like I'm actually in that process, and I have not been successful. And I won't even like sit here and make a number out, because I've actually stopped looking for like 3 months, because I'm focused on just like paying stuff off. I know that for credit, you have to pay before the date. You have to keep it under 50%, 30% now, because of the way the economy is. So 30%, you got to keep, like, you have to keep your credit card. Let's say you have a $500 balance. You have to keep it. You should keep it. You don't have to do nothing. But if you want to have good credit, you should keep it like maybe zero balance, or like $100 or $50. Like, you have to keep it like where you have more than 30% available credit. So what I do is I got a business credit card, and I make purchases, and it comes straight out my bank account like in 2 days. So that's under NAV Prime. That's like a place where you build your FICO score, you build your business credit. I've also done Net 30 accounts. Have you heard about them?
I have, but I'm not too familiar. I'm not very familiar with business credit, period.
Yeah.
So I learn from you.
Yeah, so the Net 30 accounts, like where you, like, if you get approved to get Net 30 accounts, and I'll do another video on that where I'll break down like the different ones that I've been approved of. But Uline is one of them. Basically, Net 30 accounts are places that you can buy business supplies that will let you pay within 30 days.
Okay.
You have to get like a real easy one to get approved from. Like Sam's has them, Uline, which I get paper towels, toilet paper, tissue for the salon with that, laundry detergent, like like any office supply place, something that would be easy to get approved, because the harder ones, like gas stations, they give you lines of credit for businesses for fuel, but they're harder. So that, like, you have to build your business credit up sometimes. And sometimes within that 30s, you have to make one or two purchases where you pay right away. Like, you pay that day. Like, you make your order and use your card that day. And then they let you get lines of credit later. And that helps you. You want to definitely monitor your business. I don't know what my FICO score is now. Like I said, I've been like kind of staying away from it for a minute and focusing on just like making sure I pay down some debt, because October was an expensive month because I had lots going on. But you definitely want to keep your utilization like under 30%. So on your credit report, if you have 4 cards, let's say your credit limit that you can use is 20,000. You need to make sure it's like close to like 2, 3, 4,000. Like, you don't want it to be, high, because that affects your credit score. So yeah, applying for things affects your credit score. So I'm just now building credits, personal credit and business credit. I've never built business credit. This is the first time I've ever built business credit. We just weren't, unfortunately, we just weren't thinking like that. And, I've come to realize growing up the way I grew up, and you probably can agree just by talking to like people, that we become programmed. And then like less is more. We want to stay away from things. We don't want to touch topics. We kind of just want to float through life. You know what I mean? It's stressful enough, so we don't want to think about dying. But unfortunately, I've had a lot of death in my life, so I know that it happens. That's why I'm very open with it. I have a will. I've had a will for like 10 years. I update it as my life grows. What's your view on having wills?
If it's not in writing, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Me sitting and telling my family who I want this to go to and that to go to when I do, it doesn't matter if I didn't put it in writing. And the last thing I want to leave my family is a headache to fight over what I left behind. Why didn't I already have that established? Anything I can possibly do to make it easier for them is what I want to do, especially considering at 31, I had an appendectomy that resulted in, you kind of touched on it earlier with the hospitalization. So I had an appendectomy gone wrong. Well, not gone wrong, but I developed complications that left me hospitalized. And when I thought about things, I said, I don't have children, and I likely won't have them, but because it's something I'm like, I have nieces and nephews, and especially the ones I'm really, really close with. I try to spoil them when I can, but I want to make sure if I would have died at the age of 31, what would have been left behind for them to set them up for the next phase of life? Yeah. So that was my whole thing. And I also made sure to put everything in writing, down to my furniture, down to my weapons, down to even just authentic. I have several authentic African pieces. That some I brought back when I visited South Africa, some that I've collected over the years. They're authentic pieces. I have those marked with certain things and listed in my will also. So if it's not in writing, I don't want my family to have the headache to deal with it.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I've seen strange things after people pass away. And if you don't have it in writing, I've seen people do I've seen people do funerals for people who verbally expressed they never wanted to have funerals, but their family just wants to have funerals, spend all of this money, invite all of these people who don't. And what for? Like, for themselves. It's not to honor the person that passed away. So I definitely agree. Like, I don't know, like losing coach, it just taught me a lot. Like, even before that, just the amount of death that I experienced in my life and all of the weird shit that I've seen that's come after that. It's like, I don't want no one else to make any decisions for me. Like, I like to control my shit. So I just want to be able to make sure that my son will have the easiest experience afterwards, because it's very tough. I lost my mother at an early age. Oh man, I didn't even think about that. Like, her funeral, oh my gosh. So I'm gonna give you an example of why you should have life insurance.
I am so ready for this.
My mama's funeral was broke down. It was so broke down. Like, the funeral, I'm serious. Like, it was so broke down. I was 15 years old. I remember it being in a funeral parlor in the hood where I'm from. and it was like a known funeral parlor. And it probably was like the cheapest. And at the time we were getting ready to move into an apartment. So, and we had like some layaways like at Kmart. I remember because we had layaways at Kmart. Like the house, the security deposit on the house. And when because she had a heart attack, she just went to work and had a heart attack. And so she passed away suddenly. And she didn't have anything, like she didn't have assets. So she probably didn't think that, having a will was important or having life insurance was important. So her husband at the time scrambled around to get show the death certificate to like the leasing company, got the money back. They gave him the money back. So he pieced together the money for the funeral. He paid half. See, and also when you got a life insurance, don't they pay directly to the funeral?
They can.
Okay.
If you direct that, I believe.
Yeah. So he pieced together all the money and, just got the cheapest funeral that he can get. And it just was not a good experience. And then, so you definitely want to make sure that you have money for a funeral. Like you don't want to be piecing stuff together and just,
Well, just real quick, you said that happened at work. But a lot of times people think that, I have a life insurance policy at work. That is a group policy that belongs to your employer. The moment you leave that job, it's null and void unless you want to pay the $500, $600, $700 a month or more to keep it going, which to me just doesn't make sense.
Yes.
That's why it's important to have something outside of work. I have something at work in addition to multiple other policies outside of there.
Yeah, some places have that. Like when I worked at Sally Beauty Supply, they had like a policy. Like even maybe Federal send me something like that's $5,000.
Most banks and credit unions will offer you some sort of life insurance policy at a much lower price than other places will.
Just my homework. I need to look at that maybe Federal because I remember that coming last week. That life insurance.
Yeah, don't throw those away. Look them over. Compare them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important too.
Yeah, I'm gonna give me some more life insurance. As soon as they told me like a few years, so I gotta just keep checking back and see if I get approved. Yeah, but I'm gonna get some from you. I need some more real soon. Let me see if there's anything else. We definitely want to hit real quick on emergency funds. In the credit building process and doing all the research that I've done, I hear so often that, especially because I'm gonna move into like investing with tangible investments like properties for salon fleet buildings. And then I also am learning about investing in stocks. So I've heard a lot of like pay off your debt first, like your credit cards, before you invest in stocks, and then save 3 to 6 months savings before you invest. And then invest, like what I've gathered that I'm going to do is I'm going to invest like I'll do another video on this too, but I'm invest like in SP 500, like the index, something like real safe.
You know how you can do that? Life insurance.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, some of what you were saying earlier, like in the universal policy, it kind of like struck. Yeah,
I have an index universal life policy, and I'm currently contributing to a basic interest account, S&P 500, and there's a third one. I can't remember what it is, but
yeah, we're gonna talk about that too.
It's another avenue for investing.
Yes, and then once I get like my investment strategies down pat, then I'm gonna do videos on that. Yeah, we just continue to learn. We continue along, but I definitely wanted to get on here and just start the conversation of financial literacy. Again, Atlantic City did not teach me that. Atlantic City taught me how to see. It taught me how to survive, and it taught me how to hustle. So I definitely love being from New Jersey because it definitely taught me that. And then also it gives me a lot of gratitude now being in these kind of spaces because there was a time where I wouldn't even be able to have a professional conversation with someone. I would have so much like like lack of self-esteem. I wouldn't even think like I was good enough to be in those kind of spaces. And that's a lot what my platform has built. I built my platform on talking about and just giving a space for that. And now moving into the business realm more because I'm consistently talking to people about business and learning about business and just sharing all this free game. So,
but you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I like talking to people at the very top just as much as the people at the very bottom, because that's really who you should talk to. Because if you're at the top, I can learn from you. But I enjoy learning by teaching also. Yeah. So I'm talking to you and it's making me think of, oh, I didn't think of that. I'll have to research this. Or it does help. I do enjoy talking to people who just don't know anything about it. It's just my passion to educate you. I'm not desperate to make a sale. I'm not desperate for any of that. My regular job pays my bills, which I absolutely love. Also. Yeah. So I love that. I love my regular job. I love my business. Yay. Yes. But it's something that we have to have conversations, and talking about it isn't making it happen. Yeah. But it's going to happen no matter what. So wouldn't you rather have something for a fraction of an astronomical amount when you're younger than versus when you're older, and saying, oh, well, I'll wait until later to get life insurance. Well, waiting until later, it can literally be too late. I have a friend who, well, I'll say friend for lack of a better term, 34 years old, recently got a not so great diagnosis and is now uninsurable. Yeah. There's nothing we can do for you right now unless you make it through this and you're in remission for 2 to 5 years. Yeah. So what happens, and these people have families that they're taking care of. If you have certain policies, you can tap into 90% of those policies if you have a terminal critical illness diagnosis. People don't know about that either. So,
I have a question. So when a person passed away, their life insurance, does it have to cover their student loans?
That is a debt that I don't believe dies with you. I do think that goes over to the next of kin, but I am not positive, so don't.
Oh, we about to research that.
Not all debt dies with you. Your family will be on the hook for certain debt. And here's the reason I love term insurance for when you have something that you're making payments on. Say you have a home and you owe $200,000 on the home. Well, get a $200,000 term policy. It's going to be $30 to $50 a month. And God forbid, but if you die while you're still making payments on the home, your family owns it outright now. That term policy took care of it. Your other policies took care of your other debt and your burial and went to the family to build generational wealth. You have to have all of it.
But if you put all your stuff in a trust, so I'm not saying don't get life insurance. But if you put all your stuff, because, okay, for me, I'm just going to give a little disclaimer. I want my beneficiary to get a bag off my desk. Same. Like, I don't necessarily just think about my debt being gone. Right. I want y'all to be able to say, she went out hustling and she left us with a couple dollars. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they can utilize it to like invest in their own business or something that they want to do. Because I chose 2 responsible people that I know are gonna like be like, I'm gonna make this money grow. Of course, my child is one of them, and then my sister. So you know what I mean? I know they're gonna make that money grow. So that's what I was thinking when I purchased it. Like, I want this money to grow, and they can, feel happy about it. But I'm going to definitely check into the student loans. Yes. And then
I believe student loans and medical debt do not die with you, but I'm not positive on that, so don't quote me.
You know what's so crazy? I was listening to that podcast you were on, and I was thinking about health insurance. Having health, we're going to touch really quickly on this, and then we're going to wrap up with this, because I do have that on my list. Having health insurance is one of the best decisions. Like, there was a period of time as an entrepreneur where I didn't have health insurance. Fortunately, I wasn't sick during that time. So I purchased my own health insurance through the marketplace. Again, as your income grows, your health insurance monthly payment grows. So for a period of time, my income wasn't so high. It's not so high now, but it's higher. That my premium, I don't know if it's called premium, my monthly payment every month is very inexpensive. And the bills from cancer my surgery alone was like $140,000. Like chemotherapy treatments were $11,000 every other week. That I went there for 2 days out of that week. It was like 11,000 and some change. And I get $0 invoices. And what also happened, and I don't know if this could be everybody's story, but fortunately for me, God and the universe made this happen, that during that time, I was able to qualify for supplemental through Medicaid.
Oh, great.
I called them asking them for like some type of like housing, because for 2-3 months I didn't know where. I'm a resource person. So even when I was out of work again, didn't have no money in savings, wasn't really thinking about that too much until cancer and then coach passed away. Money coming in, investment, had the large location, COVID happened, so like savings was, dwindling down. So I was like, and then after COVID, I got cancer. So it's like back to back things. So I started to look into like, what if I'm out of work for a long time and we only have that one employee? Like, what happens? So I started looking around. So when I called Medicaid and asked them, like, do they have anything in Georgia for like people that have cancer to help them with rent? She just signed me up for Medicaid. So it's like she signed me up for Medicaid. And like during that, for 6 months, I had Medicaid. And now, even with no Medicaid, when I go, I don't know how the chemotherapy would work because I'm off that, fortunately. But yay, I know. I'm so grateful. I can't wait to get more life insurance, though.
I can't wait for you to have more life.
I know. I want to get more life insurance so I can have more life. But yes, so Medicaid like supplemented. But then when I even started looking at the bills, like most of everything was paid by my regular insurance that I had. Like I'm just like having health insurance. I could not imagine having no health insurance and being sick. And it's terrible. A lot of people have that story.
Well, it's actually, I think, still one of, if not the number one reason for bankruptcy in this country. We're the richest country, aren't we? How do we all file bankruptcy because of medical debt? I had wonderful health insurance. I had money in the bank. But when I was hospitalized for 8 days, that bill came over $300,000. Thankfully, I didn't have to pay that. My insurance paid majority of it. But still, what I was left responsible for was more than I felt was going to be feasible to continue, living a decent life and coming out. I don't know how I'm going to make this work now. So I ended up having to file bankruptcy at that time too. And it was the absolute best thing for me ever. Because it allowed me to financially restructure things and say, okay, I got that done with now. And again, that was in 2016, 15 was when I was hospitalized. 16 is when I filed bankruptcy. Because I was just drowning. Like I can't pay all these medical bills and keep up with life. So, but now after doing all the hard work, my FICO is 742 last time I checked. Yeah, but it can definitely happen. It just slow and steady wins the race. But having insurance is the absolute best thing. And really quickly, you mentioned having an employee. You need something like key person insurance. That is something where it covers the business to keep it afloat. And God forbid something happens to that one person or whoever is very important to keep the business afloat. You have key person coverage to help keep the business going if something happens to them. If something happens to them, the employee. Yes. Oh yeah, we definitely have. I'm telling you, I'm about to get all of this stuff and I'll just make a video on this, like the whole process. Yeah, I need all of that. I'm never gonna have salon employees again because I'm not expanding. I'm actually moving. I'm sorry, Smyrna, the Brazilian wax bar clients. Now what now? Not no time right now. But we are structuring our life because I had to work through coach's suicide. I had to work through my dad getting sick. I took a month off each time. I didn't make any money for a whole month in September of last year. Well, when he passed away, I took a whole month off. And then when my dad got sick, I took a whole month off. And that's when I really started thinking like, okay, I definitely need to take that time off. However, when I came back to work after Coach passed away, my dad, I was more emotionally like I was better. But during that time with grieving, I was coming to work. I was leaving early, canceling clients.
Like I had a client the other day and I was so grateful because clients stayed with me and we had a conversation and I told her, I said, I didn't want to do none of this. So I say all that to say this. I started really thinking about owning the salon suite buildings and then having the salon suite master quarters. Like, yeah, so that's what and I'll do some business consulting in that. But my main thing, whatever it is that I can do that's going to give me income when I'm not in the salon.
Yes.
I work through chemotherapy, like just working through grief. It's crazy because I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Eat, Pray, Love. I need to do that. Mm-hmm. So there's this movie, it's with Julia Roberts, where she's just like fed up with her life. Not fed up with my life, but I can't remember exactly what it is. I might go upstairs and watch that after this video. But she needs a life change. So, okay, I thought it had stopped. She needs a life change. And she pretty much just walks away from everything and goes and visits these countries and just gets her healing on. And then there's a person, her Instagram, I'm gonna put a little plug. I don't know you personally, but who is Snoop? I don't know if you've ever seen her on Instagram. So she's all over Instagram, all over social media. I bought her salon suite course and I learned a lot from that course. I'm slow and steady with the race right now. Like I'm behind the scenes, like taking my time on everything. I could have been bought a building. I'm not ready. I don't want to overwhelm myself. I'm building my credit. I'm getting everything where it needs to be at. But she lost her daughter. And like, I've never lost my child. So it's like all the pain that I had felt from death, I feel like that shit would be different, like way different.
Yeah.
And, you know, because she is not the person in the salon, she was able to like travel and get her healing like really on. So I gotta work my healing in, which I know, listen, y'all been grateful, like everybody's been so good to me. But it's like I took that time to really think like, how can I set my life up to where I can have income and I'm not being in the salon? Right. So that's what it is over the next 5 years. It's like really just learning that. And like how I can't be in the salon and then getting all the insurances I can get.
Yes, because that can keep you afloat too.
I know.
You can get pet insurance. There's so much insurance out there you can get to cover stuff like even like what you're talking about. You can get supplemental insurance. Even if your job doesn't provide. Dad
told me that the supplement, like he told me like to get some type of supplemental insurance. I wrote it down. So like if I ever have to go like into a nursing home or something like that.
Yes, you can get long-term care.
Like that's what he was talking to me about. You know about that too?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So my degree is healthcare management. I can talk about healthcare law all day long. Yeah, insurance. I just love it because I know the benefits of it and how important it is.
The long-term insurance that covers like if you have to go into a nursing home. Because I know my dad's wife, she went to a nursing home and they before she went into the nursing home, they put her house in her daughter's name.
Smart. Very smart.
They did. They put her house in her daughter's
home.
They took whatever you want, whatever you got. And at that point, she didn't have nothing because she put her house in her daughter's name. And then my dad and her they chose not to get married because they both had their individual pensions. And they pretty much were life partners. Like they dated when they were younger, broke up, had some kids, had life, and then came back to each other. Yeah, and then they were together from when I was 14 until she passed away 4 years ago. And my dad, like, oh my gosh, my dad. The other day I talked to him and he's like, I said, every time your money come in, you find something to spend your money on. And he's good to the family. Like he makes sure he's, but he's like, I don't really need to save it. Like I'll probably live another 10 years and this money come every month. Right. And I don't really have no bills, which is fine. Whatever you want to do, spend your money, do whatever. You got insurance, you got life insurance, you got all the stuff that it's super easy for me. If anything happens to you, it's super easy for me now. You take care of yourself. But I made the comment to him and I said, our family just don't know nothing about no generational wealth, do they? Like I said, I'm breaking this pattern. Like he's like, I wasn't meant to have generational wealth. That's exactly what he said. What you I wasn't meant to have generational wealth. but it carries on into my life. And again, why I'm so grateful that I've been able to encounter like humans, like professional humans. I'm so grateful that I moved out of New York City.
Oh, man, you think I'm professional?
Yes. Like, I'm so grateful for the salon and everything, because when I talk to my child, their conversation is not expecting, but because they see the path that I'm on, it's kind of like in their mind, it's just automatic to think, because we were and it holds me accountable for myself inside. Because the other day I took mental notes, like, girl, you gotta stay, you gotta, like today I wasn't really feeling like it, but I was like, you gotta get out this bed and get moving and do what you gotta do, because I told him, I said, when I transition on to become an ancestor, I don't want you to keep my businesses if you don't want to. Sell them. That's my dream, not your dream. You don't have to, you know how like some parents, they want you to continue on with that legacy?
Well,
that's stressful.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm going to keep the salon suite buildings that I don't have yet. So this is why I made a mental note, because he's watching me that whatever I say, I make happen. So it's like, girl, you better, because he said, yeah, I'm going to keep them. It's just, make sure I get a property manager like you said, and I'm just going to have generational wealth. And I'm looking at my little bank account that needs a couple more zeros.
But it's all about the conversation has to start somewhere.
Yes.
And I like this kind of stuff. My mother has talked about this my whole life.
Good for you.
She talked about it so much that when I graduated college at the age of 22, I bought my first house at 23, brand new, with no money down.
Yeah.
Because I had credit.
Yeah.
And that I just got excited about, like, okay, Mom was good about teaching us about credit and finances and stuff. And my dad always talked about taking care of your credit and working hard. I just enjoyed listening to it, but we also didn't come from, nor did we have generational wealth. So that's what I'm trying to do now, to keep the conversation going with my nieces and nephews, my friends, their children, my coworkers, whoever I can talk to about.
Where I'm from podcast community.
Where I'm from podcast. And yes, with B.MARIE.
Yes. Well, I think it was an excellent episode. There's so much information. Again, I'm so glad that you came out here. And we were so nervous. It's like, it's just different environments. Like, and it's, it just gives you a little, but you got to push through that fear. Like I always say at mostly all my videos, like, make sure you be kind to yourself, give yourself grace. I don't know about y'all, but we out here trying to make it happen and just do the best that we can. And again, Amber Life. So you are in the process of building all of your business social media. So if you want to, you can give me something later and I will put in the description. So I will have Amber's information in the description when the episode airs, because she got some homework to do. You can know for me. But I actually remember that I'm going to rewatch the video so I can take notes. I was like, I need to pay attention now and do my notes later. So make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video, and just join the conversation of financial literacy. Each one teach one, like Amber said earlier. We're all out here. Well, I don't know. I always say this. I don't know about y'all, but we're out here just trying to figure it out and do the best that we can. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you can get up to date when I post new episodes every week. And we'll be back for our next episode next week. I love you all. Bye.